November 3rd, 2015, Tuesday. Utagawacho Shibuya. Okay, same day, different perspective. The path to Hekiho Academy. Kurusu was walking alone along an empty street. Her breathing was a little heavy. She'd been walking a long time and at a fast pace. She was wearing her school uniform. There was a school rule that said whenever you went on campus you had to wear a uniform. It was funny to realize that she was obeying it even now. Okay, so she's going to school. She just found a clue in a Don't Look at Me video and asked a certain person to meet her at Hekiho Academy. The person had said they couldn't be there immediately, but that they would call her when they got to school. So there was no need to hurry. There was plenty of time until she got there. That's what Nono told herself. But her body kept driving her forward. She realized she hadn't looked at it in a long time. She must have been put under more strain than she realized. Okay, so that's why, that's why she went to her room to put on her uniform, and then she ran right out, I guess. She looked and saw several calls from Takaru and Adamura. She thought of stopping and heading back, but then sighed as she realized it was impossible. She couldn't go back to Alba dorm now. If she saw Takaru's face, her determination would waver. And she would change her mind. So now, the only thing she could do was go forward. Now that she realized the hidden truth. She apologized to her absent brother and tapped the phone in her pocket. Then she glared at the hill in front of her as she readied herself for what was to come. She had to rid herself of any kindness or sentimentality. Even if she didn't intend any mercy now, she might find herself in a moment of weakness later. At night, the academy was an ominous, dark silhouette amidst the dazzling lights of Shibuya. It was as if it knew what was coming. Usually, there was a guard in the room attached to the front gate, but for some reason, she couldn't see him. The air felt tense. She shook off her uncertainty and went inside. She went into the dark newspaper club room and turned on the fluorescent lights. Nono had decided to wait here for her call, but when she arrived, she found something unexpected. It was a map that they put up to analyze the case, which had been taken down a while before. It was back on the wall, and there were several new pictures and pieces of information that she hadn't seen before. That was probably Takuru's doing. He'd been continuing to hunt the killer in secret too. Yeah, ironic. We said that too. And also, well, I don't know, this seems like a bad idea. I guess we're calling the killer, maybe, into the newspaper club. I mean, the only other suspect, we know, is Serika. So maybe she calls Serika to the newspaper club room? Seems like a bad idea, though, because you can easily be ambushed, if, assuming the killer wants to, get rid of Kurusu as well, but I don't know. Anyway. Well, she felt herself letting her guard down as she thought of Takaru, and quickly shook her head. She brought a chair close to the wall and sat down and stared at the map. Takaru said something once.
けど、最近はその事件自体が逆に僕らを追ってきてるような、そんな気がするんだよ。
Looking back, several things had happened that could only be explained that way. Kurusu had decided that Takuru's life was in danger because he was a psychic, and that she was going to save him. But if the killer was just after Takuru's life, there were more direct ways to go about it. But instead, they got the return of the new generation madness killings and what had happened to Yui. It would have been easy to take it would have been easy for them to take Takuru's life. But just like Takaru has said, the case seemed to be slowly closing in on them from all sides, which meant the
タクルの命じゃなくて、タクルに関する別の何かが目的。
That was the only thing that made sense, but she couldn't figure out what it could be.
ただ、
Then she saw a piece of paper on the board. Haida had Minamisawa's ID card. That fact had set her mind reeling. One of the reasons she figured it out was Haida Riko.
ただ、その目的を果たそうと、事件の裏で動いている人間が誰なのか、それは分かった。
It all started with the ID card that Minamisawa Senri had. That was without a doubt her real card, and no one but Kurusu could have known where it was. All of Senri's things lay beneath the memorial. Kurusu had put them there herself. All of Senri's family had died in the earthquake, and she had no surviving relatives. So after the memorial had gone up, Kurusu had put them there. Even Kawahara, the other boy who had been playing with them, didn't know that. It was a secret that Senri let only Kurusu know. But Haida Riko had held that secret. No, she'd been given it. How was that possible?
思考盗撮。
The power to see other people's thoughts and memories. You knew the child was the killer. Well, I mean, we're all children, so I don't know. I guess it truly is the chaos child, because we're all children and we're all the killers. I don't know. Well, the power to see other people's thoughts and memories. Kakita, the victim in a revolving dead case, had supposedly possessed it. The killer had used it to read Kurusu's mind. And that was how they were able to find Senri's ID card.
つまり犯人は、私と接触したことのある誰か。
And now that she found what was hidden in the Don't Look at Me video, she had no choice but to fight them. Now, what did she see in the, I guess here? Maybe it was like something that was like low frequency, that's why she had to turn up the volume or something? She heard something, maybe someone's voice? She probably made contact with them more than once or twice, because they were one of her closest friends.
あなたとは、どれくらいの付き合いになるんだったかしらね。
She suddenly remembered their smile. Her whisper echoed off the walls with no one to hear it. The countless after-school hours they spent together were some of the most important times in Kurusu's life. Meaningless conversations, shops they've browsed together. Okay, so that's a big warning sign. So it has to be like, well, I don't know. I'm thinking Serika, but she couldn't think of any special memories. Because when you think about it, shopping together, that's such a high school girl thing to do. Anyway, that was very painful for her, because that was the only sign of how close they were. But I have to ask, I have to find out. Even if the answer meant that things will never be the same.
それと、もう一つ。
Actually, let's look at this picture over here. Maybe that's foreshadowing? I don't know. It seems like the implication seems like it's saying it's Serika's the killer, but well, we don't see her yet, so I don't know. I'm not entirely sure yet. Her thoughts went deeper. There was one more thing she had to ask. AH Tokyo General Hospital. That was where Takaru had seen Senri being experimented on 8 years ago. She'd been tied to a chair and slowly going mad when she'd seen a boy, Takaru, that she didn't know. She had no time to figure out who he might be. She shouted, "Help me!" without even understanding what was going on. "Tasukete, no." And the boy heard it and ran. Was he surprised at the horrible scene he saw, or afraid? No, probably both. And Kurusu couldn't blame him for either. Considering the fact that Takaru, I don't know, when did he gain his powers? Like most of the psychics gain their powers after the earthquake, so maybe not. Because I'm saying, like, if Takaru did not run, he might have been subjected to these experiments instead. I'm surprised he didn't get caught and everything, and also turned into like a mindless patient, got lobotomized or something. Anyway, and Kurusu couldn't blame him for either. At the time, he was just a 4th grader, a 10-year-old boy. There's no way he could have saved Senri. That was why Senri didn't hate him. Kurusu knew that. She tried to tell Takaru many times and failed about her one big mistake. That was why she knew. And that was why she'd always been suspicious. 8 years ago, when that boy had witnessed Senri being experimented on, he was alone. He was outside the room where the experiment was being done. Just a single, timid boy peeking through a tiny crack in the door. There was no one next to him. Really? But were you there, though? Because I remember, didn't, Serika? Wasn't Serika with him? At least, that's what you know. Unless there's some weird memory manipulation going on and Serika never existed or something. I mean, is that where it's going? I don't know.
けど、タクルはあの時、二人で目撃したと言っている。
At first, she thought that Takaru was just confused. He'd been in a coma for over a year, and he was simply mistaken. But then she said the same thing, that they were together. It had been a thorn in her heart for a long, long time.
本当にあなたは、あの時タクルと一緒にいたの？
She reached out toward the computer, but in the end, she let her hands float in the air. She'd seen the video dozens of times. It wouldn't be any different here than it was in Alba dorm. Nor would the secret it concealed. Nor would it change what she was about to do. There's no changing any of it, it seemed. It took a long time before they called her. It was almost midnight. But Kurusu didn't get frustrated. She simply waited, calmly. She assumed it would be around this time. They were probably waiting for November 4th, the day of the new generation madness.
そして私を。
And then they were going to do to her what they did to the other victims. Well, she felt her phone vibrating and took it out of her pocket. Takaru was still calling despite the late hour. He sent text messages too. Of course, Kurusu hadn't answered at all. Was it him again? She thought as she looked at the screen. The name she'd been waiting for had appeared on the screen. She answered the call and put the phone up to her ear.
もしもし。
She heard a voice she knew well on the other end. Sorry to keep you waiting, she said. Okay, so I mean, it's a female. I mean, again, this is a big implication. Because I was thinking that maybe it could be Kawahara as well. You know, it could be like a twist where it's actually Kawahara because he was like very close to Kurusu as well. But I mean, it says right here it's she, so it's gotta be. I mean, again, implication is gonna be Serika, but they're still like, you know, trying to hide it, you know, not showing her voice or whatever, not showing her face. I guess I'm not sure.
いいのよ。そんなに待ってないから。それにここへ呼んだのは私の方だし。それじゃあ屋上でいいかしら。
The roof.
待ってるわね。
Gonna be like an anime battle on the roof, I guess. She ended the call and went back to the phone, put the phone back into her pocket. But suddenly she stopped and called up a picture on the screen. It was a photo of her family at Alba dorm, the same as the one that was Takaru's treasure. She stared at it for a while, then placed the phone on the edge of the table, the place where she always sat when she was with the newspaper club. If something happened to her, she wanted someone else to save it. You should make it like a backup, you know? Upload it to the cloud, but I guess not. And then she looked around the room and bowed.
お世話になりました。
Well, I guess Kurusu's going to die. She turned off the lights and the room became as dark as the abyss. Don't act like you're never coming back. He wasn't by her side to tell her that. Alright. So I guess Kurusu knows who the killer is while we're left in the dark. Alright. Let's continue. I mean, I feel like, you know, Just probably one more like final showdown, probably. And well, I don't know. Kurusu could die, I guess, and then there'll be like one more final killing. In that case, is that the final kill? I guess it would be for the if you're following the new generation manners or whatever. So if Kurusu dies, then that'll be it, you know? Whether or not we find the killer though, I guess that'll depend on Takeru. But the murders will be finished. Though I wonder, well, I mean, technically Kurusu, I mean, usually the new generation man's killings, the return of them anyway, often involves victims who are psychic, though. Kurusu doesn't really fit that bill, right? As far as I know, so maybe not Kurusu is getting killed. But I don't know. Anyway. I was pulling my hair out in frustration. Grr. I already watched this video 100 times, giving them plenty of ad revenue. It was, of course, the video of Otani, the "Don't Look at Me" victim. He'd wept tears of blood, lost his arm, and turned his desk red and died. Not only was I watching a shocking, gory video over and over again, I was searching desperately for what Kurusu had found. I felt like I was going crazy. I wonder, like, if this clue, would we have heard it in the very beginning of the game? Because that was the prologue, right? That guy dying and everything. But maybe not, because it has something to do with, like, the sound, as far as I know. Seems like, anyway. So could we have heard of, like, something like that? Maybe. But each time I finished watching the video, I called her phone. But she never answered. I slammed my finger down on the end call button and started up the video again. Maybe it was something in the user comments, not the video itself. Well, as far as I know on the webpage it says there's no comments, but I thought they might be, so I checked every one, but nothing has struck me as unusual. It was just a flood of meaningless comments going from right to left. Oh, okay, although the comments on the video itself, okay, because it's kind of weird because, you know, I guess Nico style, Nico video, what do you call it? Nico Doga, right? That's the site of basically the equivalent of YouTube in Japan. They do this weird thing where the comments kind of like, they happen live, you know, across the video. But that's not really a thing in YouTube, but anyway. And only a few of them were actually worried about Otani, which just pissed me off more. Oh yeah, we saw that before in the prologue. I expanded it to fill the screen. I tried slowing it down, but there was nothing. Had Kurusu found something here? I don't know.
Takuru-san.
There was a hesitant knock on the door and Uki came in. She had probably just been crying with Yuto. She was rubbing her swollen red eyes.
先生が帰ってきて見てくれてます。お薬を飲んだのですぐに眠れるだろうって。
Her voice was still a little teary.
何かわかりましたか？
いや、ダメなんだ。
Uki looked very concerned as she watched me grit my teeth.
私、ののさんが何かを発見したとき、近くにいました。
ああ。
なんだか、いつもの冷静なののさんじゃなくて、だから、とても心配です。
Uki seemed to be remembering what had happened. Seeing her only made me more worried.
クルスのやつ、どんな感じだったんだ？
それが、突然立ち上がって、そんなのは嘘だとか、ありえないとか、最初、すごくうろたえていて。
うろたえた？
はい。顔色も真っ青だったんです。
Shocked and pale? Did that mean she knew the killer? And it was someone she didn't want to be the killer.
やっぱり、僕か、お前か。
Or was it me? It was me the whole time. That just seems unlikely. Like, it is a possibility. Maybe we're not the mastermind, but we're also being mind controlled ourselves, and everything. And we're led to believe certain things, I guess. Well, us realizing it, which is an interesting concept. Maybe there is kind of something like that, So it's kind of like a narrator kind of lying to the player sometimes about what actually happens in reality. But anyway. And then I shook my head.
ごめんなさい。本当はそこで私がののさんの力に慣れていればこんなことには。
いや、それはいいんだ。
I tried my best to keep her from sensing my panic as I slowly asked her another question. For now I wanted any hint, no matter how small.
ウキ、クリスは動画を見ていて何かに気づいたんだよな。それでそのシーンを何度も見直していた。
多分そうだったと思います。
それがどのあたりかわからないんだったな。
すみません。
She looked down toward the ground. I quickly shook my hand at her.
いや、責めてるとかじゃないんだ。そうじゃなくて。
What should I do? What do I ask to get the hint I need?
ダメだ、わからない。
Tell me, Kurisu. Where is the clue? Come on, tell me.
情けないっすね、先輩。
Well, here's Aramura. And then, I suddenly heard a voice behind Uki. I looked up and saw Aramura playing with her twin tails. Yes, the classic tsundere twin tails. Even though, well, she's not really all that tsundere as far as I know. Unless maybe there's like certain like... Well, anyway, we'll see.
なんすかその顔。泣きそうじゃないですか。
Because again, there's like, there's multiple routes to this game. Maybe there's a certain route that involves her, but she's much more tsundere maybe. But anyway.
うるさい。お前に関係ないだろ。
I yelled at her, even though I knew I shouldn't. And Aramura laughed.
関係なくないっすよ。そろそろ11月4日になるんですけど、ウキのそばにくっついてろって言ったの先輩でしょ。
すまない。
あと、クルス先輩のこと実は結構好きなんすよね、私。だから関係ないとか言われるとすっげームカつく。
え？
Aramura's face suddenly became serious, and then she yelled,
しっかりしなさい。そんなに焦ってたら気がつくものも気がつかないでしょ、このバカ。ってクルス先輩なら絶対に言うと思います。
有村。
ねえウキ、クルス先輩が何かにびっくりして、でその後映像を何度も見直したんだよね。はい。その時ってどんな様子だったわけ？何かに気づいて驚いた後だよ。
Aramura put her hand on Uki's shoulder and started to ask more questions.
ののさんすごく真剣な顔になって怖いくらいでした。でイヤフォンにじっと耳を澄ませる感じで、こう何かを一生懸命聞こうとしてるというか。
And then I realized I missed something very simple.
僕は今まで何をやってたんだ。
Aramura was right. I've been panicking too much because of Kurisu.
クルスは昨日もこの動画を見てたじゃないか。それで僕と喧嘩になった。
But she wasn't wearing headphones then. And the computer had been set at maximum volume. Okay, so now you're... Okay, well, yeah. I mean, he just said, like, he was, I guess, panicking. So all this time, he wasn't actually listening to the video. Which was what you're supposed to do. Or if that was deliberate.
どうしました先輩？
音だ。
You should have thought about this earlier, Takeru. Oh well.
画像じゃない。音に何かがあるんだ。
That's why Kurusu had worn headphones and set the sound to maximum.
有村、とりあえず聞いてくれ、これ。
Don't do that though, by the way. That will, it'll turn you deaf very easily. And damage to your ears is very hard to fix, or it might be impossible actually. Anyway, I hadn't heard the stereo headset that was connected to the computer. When I saw that she put them on, I set the volume to maximum and pressed play. Oh no. Ah! Ah, God, why? Well, I mean, on OBS I turn it down. The game volume tends to be a little bit lower than you'll be hearing, but this is very loud. They literally it really feels like they're clipping it. The sound was so loud that she ripped the headphones out her ears, and then she threw them at me.
ちょっと私の耳をぶっ壊すつもりですか？
だろ？普通そうなるはずだ。
当たり前でしょうが。
That's right. Normally you couldn't focus on anything with a sound this loud. In other words, Kurusu had been listening to...
音がほとんど入ってない部分だ。
Oh, okay, well that makes sense. Interesting. I never thought about that actually. I thought she was trying to figure out something like within the loud audio itself, but maybe because maybe there's a point of silence that you couldn't hear. Oh, I remember the prologue actually. You know, the guy was worried about like how the people that went to his room, or person or people, I don't know, some mysterious person that came to his room. He's worried that if the microphone was picking up, something in the background. If it wouldn't if he was setting up his noise gate properly, but maybe he doesn't have that, so maybe you can hear something in the background, which is interesting. So yeah, okay, that's interesting. I moved the video back to the start and played it at maximum volume. So hopefully we don't need to hear everything because it's gonna clip. Ow! Stop it! No! Oh god. The scene with him from the computer was too loud to listen to. Oh god. Did they have to like clip it like this? It sounds horrible. I guess that's the point though. The sound got a little better when he left the computer, but it still hurt at maximum volume. It was hard to imagine her listening to this part over and over again. Otani disappeared out of frame and I stopped being able to hear what he was saying. This was the part where the people thought the killer had come in, but everyone, from the police to internet users all over the country, had thought it would lead to the killer, and had been listened to millions of times and all. If it wasn't this part, someone would have found it already.
この先、確か怖いんですよね。私、あっち行ってます。行こう、ウキ。でも。
Aramura pulled Uki away by the hand. Uki turned and looked at me, concerned.
ありがとう、ウキ。もう大丈夫だ。有村もありがとうな。
必ずクルス先輩を見つけてくださいね。
はあ、二人も4日になったら絶対に離れるなよ。トイレもだぞ。
Not even the bathroom.
大声で叫べ。すぐに行く。はい、
お願いします。期待しないで待ってます。
Once I made sure that Aramura and Uki had gone up to the dining room, I started to check all the parts of the video with white noise. Not here. Not here either. No, there was nothing here. Or in this scene. Or the part where he's cutting off his hand either. No, nothing there. There are small sounds mixed in with the irritating white noise. It was harder than it looked to focus all your nerves on them. My hearing started to fade and I started to lose my sense of balance. My head felt heavy and I suddenly had a terrible headache. I grit my teeth and fought through the pain. Kurusu had gone through this, and in the end she found something. I had to do the same. And then, I heard a tiny noise. I paused the video without ever even realizing I'd done so. I put my finger on the earphone in my right ear and pushed in deeper so I could hear better. Is that how it works? I don't think that's how it works, but anyway. And then I used my left hand to move the video back and press play again. It was a scene where Otani was cutting what he described as cheese beneath the dim fluorescent lights. In between the sounds of the knife, I could hear something. I played the video again. Oh, I think I know what it is. I think I know what it is. I mean, it's kind of obvious at this point, but, you know. I knew that sound. I heard it very recently, very close to me. I played it again and again. I concentrated everything I had on picking out the tiny noise from amidst the, or rather the tiny sound from amidst the noise. I hear it. I hear it too. I finally realized what it was, and suddenly I felt a cold pillar of ice pressed against my spine. No, you could call it sheer terror if you wanted to. My hands shook, and sweat poured out of every pore in my body. I felt like the room was spinning. I slammed my shaking hands down on the desk, and the pain finally got them to do what I wanted. It took me several tries, but I finally managed to open my Pokecom and powered it on. I yanked out the headphones from the PC and plugged an audio cable into my Pokecom. No. I kept screwing it up, but I managed to load that scene into the audio editing software. Oh yes. I set the volume to maximum and set it on repeat. Probably a much more efficient way, you know? Listening on like an audio program. Audio editor, video, some any kind of like video editor. Though I guess you can also use Audacity, you know, you can also use that. Well, anyway, and then I hit the play button, my hands still shaking. Yep, there she is, right there. Okay. They could have. Takano could have done this as well. Like instead of like making all the entire video like clip, you could download the video, put it in Audacity, and put a compressor on it so that everything is at a normalized volume. That would make things easier as well. Instead of like trying to destroy your ears by turning the volume to max. But anyway, I slammed the Pokecom down on the floor and called her on my phone. The phone rang and rang. Once, twice, 3 times. It kept ringing. 6 times, 7, 8. It was as if she was ignoring me. I ended the call, and this time I pulled up Kurusu's number. I tapped the call button, but I got the same result. Everyone is just ghosting me. They kept ignoring me. No matter how long I waited, I couldn't hear Kurusu's voice. I hung up the phone and ran out of the room without even knowing where I was going. November 4th, 2015, Wednesday. It's time. The roof was normally a place for students to laugh and talk. But under the cold moonlight, the empty benches seemed silent and sad. Kurusu looked at the benches and shivered once more. It wasn't just because of the cold, it was because she had realized that this place was truly empty. Of course it was. No one was allowed here this hour, and yet the door wasn't locked to the rooftop, though. Well, maybe because she's student council president, maybe she has the key, I don't know. Anyway. It was an isolated place where the warm light didn't reach, only the cold light it did. No matter what happened here, the rest of the world wouldn't care. It wouldn't exist outside of this place. It was so perfect for her that it was almost sad, Kurusu thought. While Kurusu was waiting for her to arrive, she hadn't been thinking about the case. Strangely, she'd been thinking about her family and friends. What had she always said to her family before she left to come here in the morning? Did they smile? The younger students who had helped with the student council's work. The talk she had with her classmates about the latest fads. The brief fights in the lunchroom, forgotten as soon as the bell rang to tell them to go back to class. Each time she started to lapse too deep into her memories, a cold wind would blow and pull her back to reality. And then she realized something, with a self-abasing laughter. She knew. The reason Nono wasn't thinking about the case was because that part of her was sure she already knew everything. If she asked, she would get the fatal answer that would lay bare the truth. And once she heard the answer, a strong wind blew as if to carry away her thoughts, as she closed her eyes for a moment. And when she opened them, she heard the sound of a rusty door opening.
Non-chan?
Non-chan? Her lips twisted a little when she heard her say it.
Non-chan ka.
It made her mad to hear herself called that. She felt heat rising from the bottom of her stomach. It was time to begin. Time to duel.
本当に悪かったわね。こんなところに呼び出して。ね、尾上。のんちゃん?
Did she realize that Kurusu was using a different name? Or did she sense something instinctively? Sayaka repeated herself, this time with a suspicious look on her face. She tried to get closer, but a glance from Kurusu stopped her. Sayaka froze.
答えなさい。あなたなの？何が？答えなさい。
Kurusu repeated her words to her former best friend, the one person outside her family that she called by first name. But Sayaka's expression didn't change. It was the same face Kurusu knew so well. The same look as when Sayaka brought a crepe and was wondering what was inside. A crepe? Crepe? I still don't know how to pronounce certain words. I don't know how to pronounce crepe, a crap, a creepy, a crapa. Anyway, thinking back, the two of them went shopping together all the time. Onoi had insisted that she looked fine without makeup, and Kurusu had insisted on buying her some anyway. It'd been a lot of fun. They were always together in the club. She'd argued against Takeru's reckless plans and stopped Kazuki from pounding the walls, and the two of them had always been amazed at the stupid things Ito said. But they'd always been laughing together. But
第一の事件。あそこにいたのはあなたよね。わかんないよ、のんちゃん。さっきから何を。映像に音が入ってた。私のよく知ってる音がね。
in the Don't Look at Me video, she heard that strange sound that Sayaka's ghetto froggy made. Sayaka had a bad habit of unconsciously fiddling with it whenever she was focusing on something. Wait a minute. Does that mean every time, well, assuming there's no one else that also has a ghetto froggy. But then again, well, actually, her ghetto froggy sounds that way because she's been using it for such a long time, so that's why it sounds like that. But anyway, so I'm thinking like, is every time she's been fiddling with the ghetto froggy, every time we hear that sound, is it an indication that she was using her power, assuming again that she's the killer? I mean, it seems like everything's pointing towards her right now, but I don't know, she's acting dumb, so I don't know. Well, Kurusu took a step forward to stop herself from falling over, and glared at Serika with a challenge in her eyes. That's right, Kurusu was glaring at Serika.
ちょっとのんちゃん。答えなさいって言ってるでしょ。
Serika staggered back at the sound of her loud footsteps. Finally, her expression changed. There was fear in it.
ユイは私たちの家族から消えてしまった。死んでしまったの。もう帰ってこないの。どうしてあんなことをしたの。
Serika stayed quiet, the terrified expression still on her face. Was she really terrified by Kurusu? Or was she trying to fool her? Or... Kurusu took another step forward.
8年前のあの日、あの病院の地下にあなたはいたの？タクルと一緒に本当にいたの？答えられないわよね。だってあなたは絶対にあそこにはいなかったもの。それは私が一番よく知ってる。それじゃあ、あなたは一体誰？
Wait, how does... I mean, I don't know. How does Kurusu know that better than anyone else? Like, again, because I was thinking, like, she was there... Because I saw the image before of Minamisawa Senri. I was thinking that Kurusu was there as well, but then it was just a reflection, so it couldn't be, like, another person there as well. I don't know. How is she, like, involved? I'm not sure. Again, maybe she's part of the experiments, or maybe... Well, this is kind of crazy, but maybe she's Minamisawa Senri? Are you Minamisawa Senri? Did you fake your own death? Is that a thing? Did you, like, dye your hair and then gave yourself a new identity? Is that a thing? I don't know. I'm not sure. That sounds crazy. I don't know. But then again, this game is crazy, so... Kurusu's question was something Kurusu's question was something she'd wondered about ever since Aonoi had said she'd gone to the basement with him. Yeah, I can't read. It was one last thing she'd been unsure of, which she kept quiet about to protect her own secret. Until a little while ago, it had seemed like it didn't matter. She was willing to go her whole life without finding out, because Onoi Serika was someone she loved. But now, what do you mean love? You mean Yuri love? No.
言いなさい。あなたは誰？
But Serika said nothing, not a word. Did she really not know anything? The thought crossed her mind for a moment, but she quickly kicked it away. That was just what she wanted to believe. She'd had suspicions about Serika for a long time. Me too. Though most of it was just like a joke, you know? I was thinking like the most innocent character ever, she'd be the mastermind. That'd be crazy. But here we go. But she ignored them because she was too afraid to ask. And the result of that had been Yui's death. Kurusu raised her hands and brought them together, as if offering up a prayer. And the next moment... Okay, there you go. I mean, I assume that's a D sword. It's kind of weird. It's like a claw sword. Or, not a sword, but I guess a D claw, I guess. It's a D claw. Oh no. Yeah, okay. She brought him down, hard and straight, as if swinging a sword. Okay, so it really is like an anime battle on the roof, as it turns out. I knew it. I knew Kurusu. Like, all the waifus, they gotta have, like, special powers. That's just a thing, I guess. Serika moved back just a little. Her movement might have looked like pure reflex, but Kurusu didn't miss it. Which meant...
やっぱりそうなのね。
Okay, so, well, I mean, that kind of proves it as well. Serika can see the D sword. So, I mean, she also has powers. I guess. That was the answer to everything.
そうだったのね。
Her eyes looked different. Sarika's face became blank and expressionless. She didn't frown nor sigh at her own failure. Her manner became that of a beautiful doll. Also, didn't I mention her hair is very pink? Well, we'll see, I guess. She was right. She'd been ready for it, but she still couldn't help but cry. She tried to stop herself. She grit her teeth. But Sarika's gaze wasn't fixed on her anymore. She stood, legs apart, as if judging the distance between herself and the thing in the seemingly empty space between them. She saw it. And now it was Sarika's turn to look into her eyes. Her eyes were different than Kurusu had ever seen before. It was as if they saw everything. Suddenly, Kurusu knew. It wasn't just a simile. Her eyes did see everything. Whose eyes are those eyes? That was telepathy. A terrible twisted power which exposed all of your most treasured secrets. Oh, that's a different face. She heard the sound of herself clenching her jaw. And then she forgot the tears and turned herself over to the rage that was boiling within her. It had been 6 years since she'd real booted it. It was almost sad how easy it came into her hand. The D sword. She'd never used her D sword for 6 years, I guess. A monstrous blade that only those with the power to make illusions real could wield. She refused to look away from the light that she'd never wanted to see again as she pointed the blade at her opponent. Nothing personnel. Her voice made Kurusu shiver. And a blade even more wicked than her voice appeared in Sarika's hands, opening like a blooming poisonous flower. Alright, there's her sword. Again, still kind of find it ridiculous why everyone has like these like weird anime giant cosplay swords, but you know what? I just have to accept it. It's just a thing. It was beautiful. For a moment she was blinded by the beauty of the weapon. She forgot that it threatened to cut into her soft flesh. Sarika leapt off the ground. The distance between them was closed in an instant. Kurusu brought down her own sword as hard as she could, without even time to follow her movements. And as she screamed, she could hear her voice. By the time she realized she was talking to Takeru, it was already too late. The light flashed in front of her, as if driving the thought from her mind. Well, I assume Kurusu's dead. Or it could be that she killed Sarika instead, you know. But very likely that she's just dead, you know, Kurusu. Why? Why Sarika? The same thought kept going through my head like I was an idiot. And also, I guess her power is not mind control, but telepathy, unless she also has like mind control powers as well. I feel like Sarika is not the only one, you know, not the only killer, I guess, that's involved in the case, maybe. Because if all she did was read minds, you know, that's not enough to like control anyone, but I don't know. I couldn't think. Why? What was she doing at the murder scene? The saliva caught in my throat as I moaned in pain. I took a lot of effort to keep myself from falling over. Damn it, I didn't have time to waste here. This is the beginning of Fate Stay Night, you know, the servants are fighting in a clash and we're just watching them. Anyway. I stopped as I heard a sound. I was in front of a familiar place, but it wasn't the one I'd been coming to. I was on my way from Alba dorm to Serika's condo in Daikanyama. Oh, okay, so we were actually going to Alba, to like the school. Kind of a coincidence that we heard this, I guess. I saw something strange in the corner of my eye and looked up at the school building. The school at night was an imposing sight. And on top, I could see a feeble light, like a fluorescent bulb that was about to burn out. I started to run, dragging my feet forward as I went. I raced up the stairs of the building without even bothering to take off my shoes. How rude! You know, normally you have to take off your shoes. It's very common in Eastern cultures to do that. At the very least, I think in Japanese schools you have to change into your indoor shoes, you know, so you don't drag dirt into the floors or whatever. It's kind of like a cultural thing, but anyway. The lights in the yard illuminated my face after a certain rhythm as I ran. That light was something different. That strange, dull light. I made it to the top of the stairs and slammed straight into the door. I yanked it open, trying my best not to think about what I find beyond. Oh. I was also gonna say, like, you know, it seems like the gender ratio for these psychic powers tend to be, you know, skewed towards waifus, it seems like. But again, well, I guess some of the victims are guys. It's just that, you know, the ones we see who like summon D-swords tend to be like, you know, women. Of similar age to us, the main protagonist, who is the only guy with a D-sword, maybe, I don't know, anyway. It seems like, anyway, it just seems all very convenient to be like, you know, a harem anime, anyway. The first thing I saw wasn't the light of the D-sword, but the red. My heart beat loudly once, and then all was silence. I didn't feel anything at all. It was as if I had totally frozen at what I'd seen. Well, there you go. Can I see it? Oop. Oh, she's like, ah! I guess cutting her stomach right there. I guess Sarika's the winner. She was lying on the ground in front of me. Her clothes were red. Someone was in front of her, looking over their shoulder at me. No, not someone. I knew her, but she looked different than I've ever seen before. And the deadly weapon in her hands made me shiver. And that weapon was deeply, deeply... A strong wind blew toward the open door. It was as if someone was trying to push me back in. As if they were trying to get me away from the threat in front of me. She'll kill you too. Run away, now. Was the voice I heard an illusion? Or was it the person I cared about? Suddenly all sound disappeared. My head hurt like hell. I ignored it. All the doubts I'd had, all the feelings that had told me it was a lie, I left them all behind me. Behind? It was only when I saw that the distance between us was closing rapidly that I realized I had started running. A meaningless scream poured from my throat. I could tell from the way my throat was vibrating, but I couldn't hear the sound at all. I kept running, but everything seemed to be passing by in slow motion. I felt a pulsing in my brain. My hand reached out for nothing at all. Until now, I've never been able to touch it, but now I could grab it easily. Yes, now I could grab my D sword easily. What was I touching? My D? No, what was I holding? Some fragment of useless rationality was still within me, asking me these stupid questions. Don't worry about it, it's anime. I was holding the thing that was gonna slice her apart. My own delusions made manifest by real booting. I twisted a blade that weighed nothing at all. So it's still funny, using these weird words, gigglomaniacs, real booting. They're just funny words. When I swung the D-sword, it was more than close enough to hit her. Oh, she looks different. She had already turned around and raised her D-sword up from below. Why did she have a sword too? I didn't know. But before I could think about it, I brought down my weapon with all my strength. Serika blocked it without making a sound. No, that wasn't right. My D-sword stopped before she could block it. Right before it would hit her. I heard a voice I've never heard before. I saw a look I'd never seen before. I couldn't move. She hadn't done anything to me. There's no mind control. I was the one in control. But my hands had stopped, as if they struck an invisible wall. Why? Why? Why couldn't I move? Why couldn't my arms, my legs? My feelings caught up to me. My reason came back, and my heart finally started to scream. Why would Serika do this? The pounding headache I had forgotten came back and I fell to my knees. My head felt like it was going to split. I grabbed it with both hands. At some point my D-sword had disappeared. Oh no, my D. The will that I tried to strike Serika with was already gone. I dug my nails in and closed my eyes. I could feel the veins in my forehead with my hands. I felt something sticky on my knees. I smelled a mild perfume. It was the same as before, when my little sister had been killed and ripped apart. It was the blood of someone who was every bit as important to me as my little sister, Kurisu Nono. Who had done this? Who had come at her with a blade and cold eyes? I tried to use my rage to drive it all away, but I couldn't. Well, she's not completely dead, I guess. Still coughing up some blood. I heard a wordless voice. I forced my eyes to open. Serika was already gone. Okay, she just walked away. Alright. She just, went and called an Uber and went home. I looked around with blurry eyes, but there was no light from the D-sword and no sign of her at all. I crawled over to Kurisu. She was crying. Big tears fell silently from her unlit eyes. Her chest was stained red, and each time she breathed, more blood came out. I pushed my hands up against her wounds. It was the first time in my life I had touched a girl's chest. Is that the first thing you think of? Boobies! And she's dying. Okay, alright. It was so soft, but the dark, sticky liquid kept pouring out and staining my hands red. I don't know what to do at a time like this. Well, first you need to cover the wounds, most likely. You gotta stop the bleeding somehow. But you don't have a first aid kit. That's probably the first thing you need to do. So you have to call the ambulance, probably. But that'll take some time. You should call, what was the phone number for emergency services in Japan? Was it 119, something like that? You call them first. You ask them for advice, Probably what you should do is take off your shirt, to you could use it as a makeshift bandage. It's the only thing you could do, I guess. Usually you want something sterile, but it's an emergency. She was gonna suffocate. As she started to cough, I put my hand behind her head and quickly turned it to the side. Blood poured forth from her mouth and fell onto the ground. I tried my best to hold the wound closed. You can't use just your hands. You gotta use at least your shirt. Okay, how is this okay? She was bleeding so much, yeah, but then again, if she's bleeding that much, she's probably dead anyway. Oh well. She was in so much pain. Kusu's face twisted as she started to cry again. And... she suddenly grabbed the hand that was on her chest. And her grip was so weak. At that moment, I felt an indescribable chill in my heart. Be stronger. It's like you're gonna die or something. That's crazy. Her breathing was getting so shallow that she couldn't speak, but she tried to grab my hand and bring it next to her head. But it looked like she shook her head just a little. And then she slowly brought my hand to her face and put it on to her lips. It's a lot of breathing. The red from my fingers clung to her purple lips and shone like beautiful gloss. The sensation in my fingers was soft but terribly cold, and then I knew. Yeah, she's going to die after all. Her hand moved away from mine and fell to the ground. Well, it's funny, like, you know, at the very end, he finally used her first name. Kind of reminds me of a scene in Metal Gear Solid 2, but anyway. The name fell from my lips, and it was the first time I said it in half a year. It was the name of my big sister, who had always protected me. I lifted her up and held her tightly in my arms. She didn't move at all. I called her name again and again, knowing that from now on she would never answer me. At some point, midnight had passed, and it was November 4th. The last of the Return of the New Generation Madness murders had occurred right before my eyes. Not a very creative death, I guess, but it does fit the bill. A psychic being killed on a particular day. It works out. It checks out.
本日11月4日午前0時30分、現在東京都渋谷区で起こっている一連の猟奇事件の重要参考人として、私立碧峰学園3年宮代拓君を全国に指名手配しました。
Ah, yes.
繰り返しお伝えします。
Of course.